Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and this is Thursday. It's April 17th. A couple of things before we get started on our chart lesson. It's a really slow day. Tomorrow is Good Friday. The market's closed tomorrow, so this is today for all intents and purposes. Today's really Friday for trading purposes, and so this is kind of a typical thing you might see on a Friday holiday. Just the volume is not very high. The market's kind of slow. We have been easing up for most of the morning, but really since 9 o'clock we've been in this small trading range, and this is kind of typical what you might see. I see a bigger channel here with a median line, but each time we move up, we get into these little small ranges, and it's just gotten really tight since about 9. We had a couple of failed breaks, but the bigger channel took precedence and sent the market higher. So um, let's talk about, but anyway, back to the Friday before I get on the trades. No trading tomorrow, so no video tomorrow. I'm going to get this thing wrapped up pretty quickly today and start my weekend early, and I suggest you do the same thing. And I hope everybody has a great Easter holiday, enjoys the break, and use it for an opportunity to get some time away or whatever. So, but let's talk about the trades, what I saw, and then I'm going to talk about one other quick thing, and then we'll wrap it up. But not a lot of trades today. There's, one, two, three, four, five, six fairly decent trades, fairly easy trades. And then there's a couple of more in here that I marked green that are a little bit aggressive, but not bad trades. So, um, and this one I went back and forth whether or not to make it aggressive because we do have a double top, and that's another test of it. So you got a high and you tested it twice. But this was in yesterday's price action. Sometimes, you can ignore that stuff, but that was the high, the last high that we had to test, and you can see we tested it, and then we tested it again. It's a little bit lower high where the closes getting lower. So I like that short. But let's back up here. Um, we started out early this morning. When I came in, this little channel was working up right here. And you can see that. And then we get the break, and we come back for the retest. That's all we can do because we couldn't get through this resistance up here. And somebody asked me about that. Anytime you get a move like this, you should be counting on a retest. So you got to be really, really careful about going short, because you're probably going to get a retest. And the only times you usually will not get a retest with a new extreme is if there's a bigger pattern that is is too strong. So when there's a bigger pattern here, there's a double top, and this creates a triple top, and we just can't get through there. And so that's all the retest you're going to get, and then it works lower. And then same thing kind of happened down here. You got this little channel working down. I don't even have the other side of it drawn. All we were interested in really was the trend line at this point because this is real small. And you can see that holding prices. And if you can't see that's a valid channel, um, it takes experience to see this stuff. But then you get your break and you try to go lower once. You try to go lower twice. There's not a good short setup here, so no reason to go short. And it fails. And so I like that to the long side because this is kind of holding as support across here now, and you can see that. And we tried to go lower twice, and plus you got your trend line. You should have drawn it off those first two swings, and originally I had it drawn just a little bit steeper, um, and I'll just show you why here. I had it drawn right off those closes, and you can see that bouncing right off of there. But then we kind of got a little bit lower, and as we got more price action, I adjusted it a little bit, and but that's a valid trend line. And again, if you can't see that's a valid trend line, look what happens. You draw it off the first two swings. That's the way we teach you to do it. And look what happens every time prices came back to that line. They bounced and gone higher. So you can't argue that that's not a valid trend line. And I'm making these comments for a reason because somebody made a comment yesterday about trend lines. You can find trend lines all over the place. Yes, that's true, you can. But if you know how to draw trend lines the way we teach them, you will see that what we teach, you can see it happen over and over and over. So if, anybody that'll try to argue that you can't find a valid trend line based on what we're teaching here, you just either don't know what you're talking about or you haven't worked at it long enough to be able to see it. So, and I'm not sure that person, maybe it was just funny comment, but I don't think it was. I think it was meant um, to try to say that you can see anything after the fact. But, you know, uh, there's your two swings early on. Originally, I had it drawn up through here. And but when we made a lower, this is your two swings, so I drew it right there, and you can see then. And actually, originally, like I said, I had it drawn a little bit higher, steeper, and we bounced off of it twice. So I knew we had a good trend line. Then look, we bounced off of it again, and again, and then two more times right here, and then right here. So that's, you can't argue with that. You know, you can, I guess, but you're just, you know, if you know how to see these trends and these little channels, and you, with experience, you can draw them, and I can show them to you over and over and over, and you just draw them off the first two swings. And you really didn't have any swings up here because you were making equal highs, so you draw your flat line up here. And that's how I got to that. And again, we started out down here in a little tight channel. And you get the little break lower. Look at that one tick lower. And man, that's if you were trading at that time, that's where you want. That's a great setup because you know you're coming back to the EMA and probably here. And but guess what? It just keeps on going. And there was some news this morning. The unemployment numbers came out around, I think it was 7 o'clock my time, but 7:30. But it didn't really affect the market very much. It made it look like it was going to sell off, and then it went higher. And notice this too. I want to show you this before I go on with the trades. Here's your first leg up, and so when we made this higher high here, you're looking for a measured move. And you see we're still trying to get, we haven't quite got there yet. We're still working on it. Will we get through there? I don't know. But that's what we're looking for, is a measured leg there until we get something that tells us otherwise. And here's your leg down right there, and then there's your second leg down right there. So that's a two-legged move. And so you're expecting, excuse me, it's pollen time here, and my throat, I get to talking a lot, my throat starts itching, so I apologize. But and then you get your measured leg down here, and then you're working on the leg similar to this one, back up to the upside. And but let's pick back up here. We talked about prices moving up, and so here's our first trade. We got this little challenge. Really, the first close outside. You're looking for a retest, but this is such a tiny channel right here, and you really, you don't want to be going short right there with the last low. You need to, wait on a second entry or something there, and we really never get it. And when it bounced there the second time I made that double top, I like that to the long side, because after a move like that, you're going to most likely get a retest. And that's another reason you really don't want to go short here, is that you're looking for a retest of this high. And all the reason you're drawing this channel is just to kind of figure out when you want to, when it's safe to go long. You need a little show of bullishness, and you need the break and the attempt at a retest. And you got that right here. And then look at it, took off. And then it comes up here, and it turns down right here. You didn't really have this channel in place yet. You couldn't really have that in place. I don't think I hadn't found it yet, so I doubt, most people could have found it. If you did, great. I don't think there's enough price action to give you that channel. I'm thinking more of a trading range at this point, and you can see prices are coming both sides of the EMA. We got below here, and so when we came back up and turned down, aggressive traders probably going to look at this as a trading range and try to ride this back at least to the EMA, but you can see it just keeps on going lower. And you draw your trend line off those closes on these little small short-term ones, and you get a pullback right here and a chance to get in for your second leg down. And you just want to be able to know that you can at least get to the last low right here. So and you got room for that, but it went on down. And then now you got your, draw your next swing, and draw that channel, and you don't, until you get your third touch, you really don't have good confirmation of it. And that didn't come till right here, and I didn't like that long. And then you get the failed second entry short, so now you got a chance to go long right there. And easy scout, but it comes back, it takes the runners, and guess what? It bounces again. But you're playing this as a range, as well as playing this trend, but it bounces off the trend line again. And so now you've got multiple touches of this trend line right here. And hopefully you can see that right across there. And so like I said, since then I've adjusted a little bit, but you were still playing this little channel type deal here. And so there were more than one reason to go long on both of those trades. And then you get a little pullback here and a little trap. Move those out of the way so you can see. So that's a second entry long right there. It broke lower and then broke out the top. I love those kind. Just jump on right there with a stop, or try to drop a limit order real close there, and off it goes. And then you're making the new highs here. You're coming off the top of the channel, but again, you've got this trading range here, and notice we kind of get hung up here, and it starts to make a little channel again, and notice how prices start swinging on both sides. I marked a short here. There's a failed second entry long. It's a little bit aggressive because you've got a bigger channel, and we hadn't had really a break of it for the most part yet. So, but the odds are it's time to come back to the other side because we've tested it twice up here without coming back to the trend line. And so aggressive trader may take that short, especially on a failed second entry long. Notice your new high, pull back first entry, pull back second entry, and then it tries to go higher again, and then even again. And there is a little bit of congestion right there, but the reason you're getting the congestion is because you're finding this resistance here, and it's time for a pullback to the other side. So aggressive trader, if you're understanding and reading all that, you'd probably want to use a limit order here, and you could have gotten filled on one, and it takes it a few minutes, a couple of minutes to work down, but it works on down, and then it bounces where? Right off that trend line. Plus there's this failed break lower. Look at all those matching lows across there. You get this failed break lower on a second entry long, bouncing right off that trend line. So the odds are it's going to be a failed breakout, and you're probably going to go back to the other side, and boom, there it goes. Then you pull back, and you actually get a second entry long right there, and you might have considered entering that one too. I didn't really like the setup because it closed below the little the support line, which is kind of acting as resistance. But when it turned down again and you get a failed second entry short, you got to take that. So a break above that is your short trap, and look at it, it's still trying to go higher. Easy scalp. And that's all I've seen today. There hadn't been any more setups since then. And there were actually a couple others that were a little more aggressive you might have considered in here. You might have even considered going long right here. Actually, I'll make that one green. It's a second entry long, and it's a double bottom right there. And by this time, you should have had the median line in place. And so there's some more reasons to think maybe heading back up another leg there. And so I'm going to mark that one green as well. But that's what I saw today. And, you got to be able to, there's when you find multiple reasons, like it bounces off a trend line and a strong support area, that just gives you multiple reasons to, if you can find more than one reason. But let's talk about these trend lines for a minute, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. You always draw your trend lines. They start off the first couple of swings. And, let's just go back here and find any of them. All right, here's yesterday's morning. If you drew your trend line, there's the first low where the market opened off those first two swings. Look what's happening there. Then you get the break, the move to a new high. And if you copy this, you can drag it to the upper side, and you can see it fits there. We got an overshoot, but that's not uncommon. And then you got to overshoot on this side. You move to a new high, and then look, the market started selling off. So let's go and look off the high here. You draw your trend line off those first two swings. Notice the first two swings. I use the closes there, but it doesn't really matter. You can use whatever you want there. Copy that, drag it down, and look how it fits there. How prices are bouncing each side. And you get the break here, and it takes a little bit, but it moves to a new low. And guess what? Now it's going the other way. So this stuff works. I'm telling you, it works. And for And there's your one right there. You got it working up off those first two. You get your break. You move to a new high, and guess what? It's selling off then. And this is where it got a little confusing yesterday for one guy, and I think this is what the comment was based on. I told him that his trend line didn't look right. We draw it off the first two swings, and there you are right there. Actually, if you use the closes, it'd probably come right through there. See how it fits? Oh, amazing how it fits on the other side too there. Each time we bounced, it was on a perfect angle the other direction. You got to close outside of here, move to a new low, and lo and behold, guess what? It's going the other direction again. Let's draw our trend line off the first two swings right there. Drag it up, and what do you know? It fits on the other side too, and it's holding prices till you get a little overshoot, and there's actually probably even a median line in here, and you can see that prices are bouncing on one side is acting like resistance. This may be just a little bit higher here, and the other side is acting as support, and you can see that. If you can't see that, then you got some work to do. And I can show you this stuff all, every day. And then look, you get the break, and then we've been trending up all day. And you can see here how this kind of bleeds into the tomorrow. That's why I don't like to use channels from the previous day or anything, because you can always find the stuff in today's price action. But that's just going through one day. And you can say, sure, that's easier to see after the fact. But you can see the first two swings long before any of that happens. Let's come over here. Let's just say that's all you could see right there. And so we'd start off by drawing our line, probably like so. Maybe a little flatter there. And catch those closes. Let's just see what happens here. You can see that line working up through there. It held again, and then we finally get a break. You move to a new high, and this one keeps going. But that's why I'm talking about right here. Once you got this little swing here, you might have wanted to adjust that one, and you can see, well, guess what? It comes back and bounces off of it, comes back and bounces off of it, and then we get a break, move up, and it just keeps on going. This particular one kept going. Then you picked up the nutrient there yesterday. But generally, all you got to do is draw it off those first two swings. And if it's not fitting, you just readjust it. We'll draw that off of those swings. We did get a little break outside of it there. But you can see that trend line is real close, and you might have wanted to adjust it some right here. And you get a break here, you move on down to a new low, and then it moves around. So just keep drawing off those first two swings. Most of the time, that's going to get it for you. Here's one here. Let's just draw it off the first two swings and see what happens. Draw right off those first two swings. It bounces off of it there. Still going higher. Comes back. It bounces off of it there till you get a little break, and then you move. And then it's headed higher again. Get a few swings up, and then it's headed down. And this actually goes into the next day. So let's just look at it the next day. Draw it off those first two swings right there, and look how it holds prices till you get a break, and then a move to a new high, and then you get a little one coming down right here. This one's probably going to be like that right there. And the way you always try to verify, just copy it and see if it fits on the other side. You can see that holding prices pretty well. Then you get a little break, close out, and move to a new low, and then now you got two swings right here. This one actually, once it steepened up right here, you probably would have wanted to maybe try another one that kind of comes up like so. Maybe even more like so. Just see how it fits on both sides. Maybe it fits a little better there. Drag it down and you can see it's holding prices there, and then you get a break, move to a new high, and then it turns down. Sometimes they're easier to find than other times, but if you follow the rules most of the time, it's going to get you on the right side. And, you know, here's one right here. Here's your first two swings. Draw it. I'd probably have it off those closes to begin with. And you see it's a little bit steep if you'd adjusted it right there. And then that catches those, it catches that one, and you got your close outside and you move to a new low. And we might have already drawn this one, I don't know. Draw this one right up through there. Yeah, we already drew that one. But just do that over and over, and you'll draw it off your first two swings. There you see you got your break on this one and move to a new high, and then it starts selling off, and just see how it fits on the other side to verify it. Probably got a median line on this one maybe, I don't know. Looks pretty good right there. You get your little overshoot. You know, that's a lot of times that's how you can verify it. If you overshoot one side, you'll get kind of a measured overshoot on the other side. And that's your break, and you move to a new high, and then off it goes. And so you can do this, and let's just look at this correction right here. You draw that off those first couple swings. It's working down, you get your break, move to a new low, and then it reverses and goes the other way. And you might even be able to find something off this one right here. Could be there. Actually, your low is here, so you're probably going to get something more along these lines. And you see we did break through that one. You can see it held a couple times and came back and it tested again, but by that time you had one working down. And really, generally when you find your main trend line, you want to stay with that one until you get your break and your new high anyway. So that's this looks more like a little, I would have drawn this one off those first two to begin with. And notice you got your break, your new low, and then you had a little correction. But once you saw these next couple of swings here, draw it off of those two. This is more like a spike in a channel. And you can see how nicely that fits. Maybe this is a little bit lower here. I kind of like it like there. You're just getting some overshoots. And then you get your reversal down here. This one's probably more like that right there. It's a little flat. You can see, but some people were actually looking at that line. And it doesn't fit too badly up there. But really, this one's probably more like this right here. Then you get your break, you move to a new high, and then you're headed down again. And you don't always have to draw it exactly right. You just have to be close. But let's use those first two swings there. Okay, I had a slight interruption there. I've been away for 30 minutes. So I'm not sure where we ended up, but I know we were just talking about these trend lines. But regardless of how you drew this, if you drew it off those first couple of swings, and even if you don't have it exactly right, even if you say you drew it, do it like so or like so, it still will pretty much get you the same place. And a lot of times you do have, as you get a little more price action, you got to adjust it. And you know, who's to say that you just didn't draw it off those first couple like that right there? You still get the break and the new high, and then you reverse it. So you don't have to get it exactly right, but you got to be close. In other words, This channel is somewhere right in here. The thing is, you can't have it drawn like this, and you know, you can't have it drawn like that. Although, you know, you're a little bit late there, but see how it's missing all that price action up through there. There's, you know, generally it's going to be off the closes or off the first couple of swings, and if you draw it off those first couple of swings right there and you use the closes, I mean, that catches the next two moves, and it fits pretty well. And you know, it might have even been a little steeper than that. It might have been more like so, and then you get the break. See how that fits. I actually like that better. But usually you can tell by, and you can see that fits pretty good. You get the break there, a couple legs up to a new high, and then it sails off. So that looks really good right there. But no matter how you draw it, you generally use the first two swings. And I'll just draw, there's one off the first two swings right there. Look how it fits. And you copy it and drag it down, and I guarantee it'll turn prices every time on the other side. And that's what I'm always talking about when I say your price action has to fit neatly. In other words, when it touches the low, it reverses. When it touches the high, it reverses. And you can see it bouncing prices all the way down through there on both sides. And you got this small trend right here. You draw it off the first two swings. Here it is. It's holding, and I'll guarantee you it'll hold prices neatly right there, and you get the break to move to a new high. So it's there. Sure, it's a whole lot easier to draw it after the fact, but if you just use the first two swings and then adjust as you get more price action from there, most of the time you're going to be really, really close. You're going to be close enough that it doesn't matter. So I hope that makes sense to you. I'm going to wrap this one up. Hope everybody has a great 3-day weekend. We'll be back Monday to do this again. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.